No, thank you. Sleepy. Come back in an hour.
Need sleepy.
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at billycboxing.com.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Caligiero, and it's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing okay. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located in St. Simons Island, Georgia. Check out why I love his pizza so much. Visit the website and you'll see, let alone taste, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Not that you'll be able to taste his pizza on the website, but you'll get a good visual and you'll be drooling and want to taste it. You know what I'm talking about. www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call. Don't give him a cold. Give him a call. 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, St. Simons Island. Today's show is also being brought to you in part by JKJ Boxing Magazine. You want a free copy? Visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the JKJ Boxing magazine cover, which is on the right-hand side. And today's show is being brought to you in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. Get yourself a copy by visiting barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com if you want a copy right now. If you want a signed copy, visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the book club section and follow the directions. And while you're in the book club section, there's a bunch of other books that I recommend, so get yourself a copy. Make sure you tell them Billy C. sent you. Got a full week scheduled for you today, including, now mark this down, including Saturday night, as soon as the official announcement is made for the Terrence Crawford versus Victor Postal pay-per-view event. Tune it in right here on BillyCBoxing.com or YouTube.com/TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing, for the Billy C. Crawford Postal fight show, which we will be doing live approximately 6 minutes after the show is over. So make sure you tune in for that. As usual, on Wednesday, we'll be doing our Blast from the Past. And we're also scheduled to have Boxing Hall of Famer Larry Hazard join us. And we got a busy week coming up. We got some emails to read right now. We got some results. Deontay Wilder beat up a punching bag in Chris Arreola. I don't know. Deontay Wilder claims he's the best heavyweight in the planet. I don't see it. I see a lot of holes in his game. I don't see him beating right now. I don't see him beating Anthony Joshua. I don't see him beating Tyson Fury. I don't see him beating Luis Ortiz. I don't see him beating Vlad Klitschko. I mean, those are the top heavyweights right now that there's no way Deontay Wilder beats. He's good at beating washed-up fighters or never have been fighters, but there's a lot of holes in his game. Joining me right now to give his thoughts, Sal Rocky Senecola. What's up, Sal?
Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Not too bad. Better than Chris Arreola is today, I'll tell you that.
Let me tell you. Wow. You know, I watched this fight 2 times. I was hoping for a different ending.
Hey, maybe if you watch it again, the ending will change.
No, but I told you earlier when we talked, I think this fight exposed Wilder more so than it helped him. And, this Chris Arreola had no reason to be given a third shot at the World Heavyweight Championship. And this hopefully will be his last shot. because I was disappointed across the board. But what were your thoughts?
Well, first of all, Chris Arreola, he's a game fighter. I'll give him that. That. He's a game fighter. But I don't know. There was a time when I really thought Chris Arreola was the real deal. I thought that he would make a splash in the heavyweight division. I guess years of taking punishment and not giving it his all in terms of discipline and training, etc., has taken its toll on Chris Arreola because he looked not even ordinary. I mean, ordinary at best, but like you said, not in a world title fight. Now, as far as Deontay Wilder goes, listen, Deontay Wilder, you could say what you want about fighters that fight, to the level of their opponent. Deontay Wilder clearly was taking Chris Arreola lightly, fighting with his hands down and pretty much fooling around a lot during the fight, which, whatever. I personally think a fighter should never.
I don't like it.
Well, I don't think a fighter should ever fight with their hands down, regardless of who they're fighting. But it is what it is. But there's one thing I noticed about Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder, and people said this about Klitschko for years. All they start off with, all you got to do is, and then nobody did it. And that would be to get underneath the jab and work the body and get in close. Well, I see the same thing with Deontay Wilder, except the difference is that as soon as you come forward, he gets panic in his eyes, and he has no answer. His defense is not good at all, Sal. I don't see any defense. His defense is his offense. And another thing, they talk about how athletic he is. I don't see it. I see a uncoordinated big guy in there. I see a guy that doesn't even deliver his punches as crisply and as straight as he can. I don't know. Like you said off the air, I think that this guy was exposed more in winning this fight than if he would have lost. I don't know. I give him credit for winning, but he pounds on his chest. He says he's the best in the world as a heavyweight. Dude, I don't see him beating any of the top guys. I don't see him beating Ortiz. I don't see him beating Anthony Joshua. I don't see him beating, Vladimir Klitschko, Tyson Fury. I don't even see him beating, guys like Kubrat Pulev. I just don't see it. What do you think?
I agree with you, Bill. Like I said earlier, this fight exposed everything that we need to see about Deontay Wilder. He looked like he doesn't even deliver the punches, and he's effective. He's a big, strong guy, but he throws these wide, looping, grazing, pushing punches instead of snapping crisp to a target punches. And when he throws his punch, his other hand is down. I don't like it when a fighter fights with his hands down in this sense. And I thought that he was very much in control for what he thinks control should be, but I didn't see any signs of ring generalship. I didn't see anything that really said, wow, this guy is really special. This guy is, like you said earlier, when you're an athlete, you have the innate ability, your mind, your body, you're in tune, you're in unison. And he didn't look like he was working coordinated well with his body, his mind, everything else. It didn't flow smooth. So can I say he's a great athlete? He's a big athlete, but I didn't see it. I didn't see what I was looking for.
I was looking for some kind of. I do think he's improving, but to pound his chest and say he's the best heavyweight in the world is a joke. How he's gotten to this title is a joke. His defenses, his whole resume, it's a joke. Everyone knows it except for him. I don't know. I have some comments on the PBC because the PBC is pretty much a joke as well. Let me just go through I got an email here that I wanted to read, but I also want to go through the fight results real quickly. As we're talking about, Deontay Wilder stops Chris Arreola at the conclusion of the 8th round. Pretty much Arreola's corner threw in the tower, which I agree with. The Bronze Bomber improves to 37-0 with 36 knockouts. And Chris Arreola loses for the 5th time. He's now 36-5-1 with 31 knockouts. Chris Arreola, for all intent purposes, is finished. Morte. He's done. A little side note, Deontay Wilder says that he, hurt his hand in his bicep, so he's going to be out for a while. Just a side note, I did get an email from someone that I'm not going to read. He was all saying, Deontay Wilder wins the fight with a broken hand and doesn't make excuses like Manny Pacquiao. I just want to say this to the guy, and I'll give you, it's Raheem. Raheem, listen, you don't make excuses when you win. It's the guys that lose that make the excuses. If you win the fight, there's no excuse that has to be made. I don't care if they will you into the dressing room. It doesn't matter. You don't make excuses when you win. So I don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, also on that card, Jamal James improves to 20-0 with 9 knockouts. Despite being hitting the deck in the first round, he won a split decision of Awali Motosu, who I feel won the fight. I don't know how they could have scored this for Jamal James. Jamal James was seemingly the guy that was landing crisp shots, but he wasn't landing more than Matoso was. Nonetheless, Jamal James improves to 20-0. Motosu drops to 26-3, 97-92, 96-94 for James, and one judge had it 96-93. Erickson Lubin fights the first real tough opponent in his young career. He improves to 16-0 with 11 knockouts, beating Ivan Montero via a unanimous decision. All 3 judges scored it 80-72. Sammy Vasquez, a guy that most of us picked on the Billy C Challenge, suffers his first defeat when Felix Diaz outworks him to improve 18-1 with 8 knockouts. Sammy Vasquez drops to 21-1 with 15 knockouts. This fight did not come without any possible or almost controversy. When they added up the scorecards, the initial announcement was that Sammy Vasquez and Diaz fought to a draw. Then all of the powers that be in Alabama took off their socks and shoes and added up the scorecards again, and they all realized that they forgot to deduct the point that the referee deducted during that fight. And when they recalculated, it came out that Diaz won the fight. One judge had it 96-93, while the other 2 had it 95-94, all in favor of Diaz. I don't even think it was that close, but whatever. Also, Gerald Washington on that card remained undefeated as he beat up, Social Security receiving Ray Austin to improve to 18-0. He stops Austin at 1 minute and 45 of the 4th round. Ryan Martin improved to 15-0 when he beat up Samuel Amoko in that fight. All 3 judges scored it a shutout, 60-54. Guillermo Rigondeaux. Most people criticize this guy. One other thing I wanted to mention on that Wilder undercard. Sergio Frias improves to 18-6-2 when he knocks out former multi-division world champion Vic Darchinyan at 2 minutes and 45 seconds of the 2nd round. Vic Darchinyan, who's now 40 years old, drops to 42-9-1. And I hope this is the last fight for the Raging Bull. This was supposed to give him another shot, a win. He falls short. Back to Guillermo Rigondeaux. He destroyed Jazza Dickens with a shot that shattered Jazza's jaw in the 2nd round. The fight was stopped. Actually, the 1st round is when the punch came, and when he give credit to Jazza Dickens for surviving the round with a busted-up jaw, his corner stops it after that 1st round. At the end of the fight, Rigondeaux says, "I ripped his jaw out. All those guys that want their jaws ripped out, I'm here. Not 100 of those guys can add up to one of me. I want these hard fights. People make it boring when he's talking about fighters that fight against him. Once they feel my power, as you know, the big knock on Rigondeaux is that he's not exciting. He says If you fight me, I'll make it exciting. WBO lightweight champ Terry Flanagan remained undefeated when he improved to 31-0 when he scored a unanimous decision over Mozik Fana on Saturday. Fana drops to 38-10. My paisan and my man Sal's paisan, Giovanni Di Carli, retained his title when he and Tyrone Hughes fought to a draw. DiCarlo improves to, or however you look at draws, 24-6-1, and Hughes 18-0-1. Also, King Arthur Abraham knocks out his sacrificial lamb to improve to 45-5. And keep you update on former Olympian Anthony Ogogo. He improves to 11-0 with 7 knockouts when he beat up journeyman Bronislav Cuban, who drops to 19-21. Some other fights: Casey Ramos stops Hardy Parodies in the 5th round to improve to 22-0. Ulysses Sierra improves to 10-0 when he took care of Jose Hernandez 28 seconds into the fight. The WBO interim super featherweight champ Miguel Berchant retains his belt when he beat number 2 ranked Chocolan Papriano in their fight Saturday night. Andy Ruiz, I just can't get excited about this guy. I'm waiting for him to fight a real opponent, and he stopped his sacrificial lamb, who they tried to make seem like he was going to be a tough one in Gormley. 1 minute and 42 seconds of that round. Friday night, Sergey Lipinets improves to 10-0 when he stopped Walter Castillo in the 7th. Tug Nabayar improved to 6-0 with 6 knockouts when he took care of Rafael Vasquez. This is a kid to keep an eye on. David Perez drops Adrian Ortiz in the first round. However, Ortiz goes 6, and Perez had to settle for unanimous decision. The first openly gay boxer, Orlando Cruz, knocked out Alex Valdez in the 7th round to improve to 23-4-1 on Friday. Miguel Cartagena improved to 15-3 when he stopped Horbet Little Pac-Man Alvarez in their fight. Super featherweight Rene Alvarado upset, at least for everybody on the challenge, Jason Veliz to improve to 24-7 on Friday night. Veliz drops to 23-1. And in a fight with unbeaten super middleweights, or I shouldn't say that, in a fight with top-ranked super middleweights, Robin Krasnicki improved to 46-4 when he beat the Doberman, Jurgen Doberstein, via a unanimous decision on Friday night. Doberstein drops to 20 wins and 3 losses. That takes care of all the fights. I got an email, Sal, and here it goes, because once again your name gets brought up, and this is from our man Angel from Madison, Wisconsin. He says, "Hola, Senor C. I was impressed with Wilder and his toughness, and what impresses me is his condition. When I see him fight, it's like watching LeBron James with boxing gloves. He's a unique individual in his own way, and I just hope that we can see him go up against the top heavyweights. What's next for him? Where does he go from here? Lastly," and he says, where does he go from here? I'll tell you where he's got to go from here, Angel, and Sal and I were talking about it. Sal is... Are you with us, Sal?
I'm here, Bill, but I'm having a real tough time with the in and out the microphone.
I see that.
I'm not sure the connection. I'm redoing it all, but it goes in and out.
It's your connection. You're dropping on and off. I'm keeping an eye on that. I see you going up and down. I just saw you come back. But anyway, my man Angel thinks that Deontay Wilder looked good. We gave our thoughts in the beginning, but he's got something here for you. He says, "Sal, is there any possibility for you to be able to deliver pizza to Miss Madison, Wisconsin? If so, please email me, because football season is around the corner."
I would be honored if I can.
Let me finish. He says, because football season's around the corner, and pizza and the Packers is a win-win for me. Put your money on the Packers. He wants Sal's Pizza to watch with his Green Bay Packers. Is it going to be possible, Sal?
You tell him I will do my best to see how I can get this by football season and get his address, get his name, and get his number. And we'll try and see what I could do. I am working on trying to see if I could par bake a pizza, freeze it, and have you guys put it in the oven, or how I could actually get it to you. So I had a good customers of ours. They just came back from Isla Mirada, and when they left, they brought down to their family a bunch of pizzas. And what we had done, we had just, like I said, par baked it. They froze the pizzas, wrapped them up pretty well in cellophane and or plastic wrap, how it's called. And then when they got to their destination down in Isla Mirada, they followed my instructions. I said, put it in an oven, heating up for about 10 minutes. It should come back. And they said they did, and it was perfect. So maybe we're onto something as far as how we could do this.
No doubt. And as far as his thoughts on Wilder and his toughness and his condition, I don't know, Sal. I mean, listen, Deontay Wilder got the job done. He won, and he took Chris Arreola out of there. I think Chris Arreola is a human punching bag. I don't know if you can really look at this fight and I mean, aside from giving Deontay Wilder, and I don't want to be negative as much as I am right now, but I mean, I give Deontay Wilder credit for winning this fight. There's no doubt. You give him credit. He won the fight, and he won by knockout. But I mean, how does Angel say that he saw toughness out of Deontay Wilder? I mean, did Wilder demonstrate anything other than that he was in against a guy that has virtually lost his skill set?
Well, maybe what he's referring to is, again, we have a fighter that claims after the fact that he fought with a broken hand and he fought with a torn bicep muscle and he fought with different things that are going to be, I guess, detrimental and hurtful and painful. So, maybe that's what he meant by toughness. I just didn't see, and as you would say often, Billy, here's a guy with 37 fights under his belt already, and even a commentary on the fight saying, well, he's improving with every fight. He's still learning. He's still developing. I'm like, whoa, wait. Wait a minute. This guy pounds his chest. He's a world leader, and I think he's far from it. Anyway,
not only that, he says he's the best. He says he's the best heavyweight in the world. Which is a joke.
And what I also heard him say was he was calling out bravely, putting your money where your mouth is. Hey, he wants to fight Tyson Fury. He wants to fight Anthony Joshua. Well, he wants to fight them, but let's see. He's going to be sidelined probably for the rest of the year with these injuries, if they're as bad as we think they may be.
Yeah, and that's not his. I mean, listen, we can't blame Deontay Wilder for injuring himself. Injuries happen, But the calling out, listen. The guy who speaks volume, who the way these fighters of today call each other out, it's so shallow and lame. It's a complete smokescreen. All you got to do is go back and watch Saul Canelo Alvarez call out Triple G when he was all tough in the ring. Us Mexicans don't F around, and I'll fight him right now. And then, 2 weeks later, he's getting rid of the belt so he doesn't have to fight him. And Deontay Wilder is no different. Listen, Deontay Wilder is going to be crushed when he gets knocked the F out. I hope he can handle a loss because he really believes that he's as good as he is. I mean, with the stupid rhymes and, he's so wrapped up in the bullshit that people are feeding him. I actually feel sorry for Deontay Wilder. I really do. Because when he fights a real fighter, Sal, he's going to get hurt. I really think he's going to get hurt.
He's going to be like the paper tiger. He's just going to fold and crumble up. I'll tell you what, and it just frustrates me if he's trying to emulate one of the greatest, most respected heavyweight champions of the world. That was Muhammad Ali. I saw him do what he did with his little twist dance or wiggle that. I just got so turned off at that stage, and it's just I don't know.
The thing is that people.
He's not a bad guy.
No. He's a great guy. Personally, he's a good guy. He does a lot for his kids and everything else. But and he does a lot for his community. And he's a Bama fan, so I can't hold it. I'm a Bama fan too. But the truth of the matter is that I don't mind trash talkers and guys that play the game, but you gotta live up to it, and he doesn't. You can't say I'm going to do this and do that, and then don't come through. Listen, you can't beat up a human punching bag and pound your chest and say you're the best. I'm sorry, you can't. Hey, some other side notes I want to mention real quick before I get into. I got some thoughts on the PBC. As a matter of fact, I think Dax Khan is going to be calling in about 10 minutes or so too, to give us his thoughts on some social media comments about the Deontay Wilder fight. But Triple G and Brooke, did you catch this out? The tickets went on sale the other day and sold out. And it took a while, Sal. 11 minutes.
Bill?
11 minutes, Sal.
I'm surprised.
And the whole
Let me
fight,
tell you something.
I mean,
11 minutes to sell out the fight? I would have expected a little sooner than that, man. Let me tell you.
11
it just
minutes.
goes to show you the state of boxing. You think the fans might want to see this fight or not? I don't know.
11 minutes, the O2 Arena sells out.
Wow.
Now, people are trying to say that Triple G is not the biggest star in boxing. 11 minutes.
11 minutes.
And here's the other thing. They tacked on. They sold the price a lot. They raised the prices of the tickets, so it didn't matter.
Demand.
It didn't matter. Little side note: the WBA is claiming that they will not let Triple G put his version of the WBA belt on the line because Triple G did not go through. His team did not go through the proper paperwork in order to make it a WBA fight. Therefore, the WBA middleweight title will not be on the line. According to the WBA, the mandatory for Triple G is Daniel Jacobs, who holds the WBA belt, the other belt. And this is a fight that we wanted to see. We wanted to see Daniel Jacobs fight Triple G. But Daniel Jacobs is backing down at that fight. He refused to fight the fight, and instead he's picking on. He's going to be getting another fight later in the year. But this was a fight that Triple G wanted. Daniel Jacobs won't last a minute with Triple G either. It's a joke. How can you order a fight when half the guys don't want to fight? And speaking of the WBA, they mentioned some mandatories, which make. This is the problem with sanctioning bodies. Keith Thurman, who just possibly fought the best fight of his career by beating Sean Porter in an extremely close fight, is now his mandatory challenger, according to the WBA, is going to be Avanisan. And another guy who has a WBA belt in Jack Culkay, he now has to fight Andre. So we'll see what happens with those two fights. The Andre fight, I'm looking forward to it. That isn't a bad one. But Thurman, Avanisan, come on, man. I need to see a rematch of Sean Porter and Keith Thurman, don't you think?
I want to see that fight too. You and I watched that fight, Billy, and we both said that's a hell of a fight. But when you saw a good fight is when you could live with the decision, whether it be Thurman winning, which he did, Porter winning, which he could have, or a draw. That fight could have wound up with any one of those three scenarios, and I think most fans, including myself, would have been accepting of those decisions. But it did definitely validate, resonate, and call for another fight, a rematch.
Yeah, so I agree. I wanted to see that, but that's the problem with these sanctioning bodies. The same thing, Daniel Jacobs. I would have loved to have seen him fight Triple G, but as far as I can recall, I think he's signed, sealed, and delivered to have a rematch with Sergio Mora, a guy that he originally said he wasn't going to give a rematch to, even though Mora broke his ankle in the fight. It wasn't even a win, like the way you would expect.
He broke that more or less, right?
Yeah, more or less, right?
More or less.
But I tell you, I have some thoughts on the PBC. After watching the Deontay Wilder fight, and the PBC. I said to myself, you know what? Let me write some good points and bad points about the PBC. I said, let me check this out. And, I write the good points, as I see you're back. I keep seeing we dropping you here. But the PBC, I have good points and bad points, right? The good point, and that's what I'm saying, the good point, because there's really
I was
only...
going to say, wait a minute, that's singular.
I know. Well, really, I'm going to tell you, too.
Easy.
The PBC puts boxing on TV a lot. I think that's good. I think that's a positive for the PBC. And then another positive for the PBC really is for the fighters. They seem to be making more money fighting on the PBC. Even though I'm not so sure most of the time the extensive paychecks are justified, they are more money nonetheless. I started thinking of the bad points, and this was just off the top of my head the other night when I was watching a fight. They have the worst commentators in boxing. I mean, at least two of the three. You know, like for example, the Deontay Wilder fight. You know, we had Brian Kenny. Brian Kenny is a good announcer, but he looked ordinary to bad because of Virgil Hunter is terrible. Terrible.
Yeah,
this guy is awful. And Danny Garcia, I mean, listen, whether you like him or not as a fighter, he's not a commentator. You know, they're just ruining the broadcast. And then when you add the fact that they're reading from a script practically with their bias over the fighters, the PBC fighters, it's terrible. The other bad things...
Hey, Bill, you know what you should do? You should give them the Billy C challenge. Tell them to have you and I up there doing the commentary. We'll show them a show.
Yeah, you know what? They with all the positivity we give to them, I doubt they'll let us. But more often than not, the PBC has given us grossly overmatched fights. Now, that means grossly overmatched either by size. How many times have we seen a guy that looks like he's fighting somebody 2 weight classes above him? Or talent-wise. You know, I mean, grossly overmatched fights. As far as the judging, it's always questionable and controversial judging, like what happened in the fights the other night. You know, where they had to re-add up the scorecards. Always. I don't like the fact that ring card girls and the announcers aren't in the ring. It's almost like they're boxing, what makes it so great, Sal, is that it makes you close to the audience. By not having a ring girl going around telling us what round it is and not having the announcer in the ring making the announcements and stuff, I don't know. It kind of sends it further
away. It takes it away. You know
I think so.
We're looking at boxing, one of the oldest sports of how it evolved from the Roman days, this and that, with the castanets in the Colosseum, all the way till today. And you know what? Let me tell you, some of the fanfare and some of the things that boxing is comprised of, such as the ring card girl, the announcer, these things. These are the expectations of the fans. These are the staples. This is what you analogize a fight to be. And if they're going to discard these things and take away from the tradition of what the fan is accustomed to seeing, I'm not a big fan of that.
No, not at all. And finally, I think that the focus on the PBC is to attract new fans, but they're attracting short-term fans. What I mean by that is that they're trying to promote these fighters like Deontay Wilder. If you listen to their comments about Deontay Wilder, etc., you know, if you're a new fan, you think this guy is the real deal. You know, I don't think that they're really being loyal to try to attract fans on a long-term level. They're attracting short-term fans. And another thing I noticed right off the bat, that their format and the fact that they're overpaying their fighters is actually killing the rest of the sport. And when I say that, Sal, I mean it kills the small promoter. Those club show guys, the backbone of boxing, it does not help us anymore, because what's happening is they're making these other fighters outprice themselves. So what's happening is there's been less small club shows to build up these fighters because all these fighters are looking for the money fights. So I think the PBC is doing more damage to the sport of boxing than meets the eye. What do you think?
Well, I think on some levels, you know, when you're looking deep down and what's going on with the driving force of this and everything else and the motivations, yeah, maybe it's detracting and taking away and everything else. But on some other levels, it's showcasing good fights, sometimes good fights. in the living rooms of people that are fans and people that normally wouldn't go out of their way to buy a pay-per-view event or so. So hopefully, and I mean this sincerely, I would love to see it continue, but learn from each show of what they need to do to get back into the mainstream of boxing and tweak it here and there. And I think that's the best thing they could do is learn from each prior broadcast. Because I love seeing public TV showcase boxing, but I want to see them showcase the good top fights. I want to see them give the fighters a good even chance, and I want to see them matchmaking the fighters that are supposed to be in the ring with each other.
Listen, you can't have Sean
You there,
Porter.
Bill?
Yeah, you can't have Sean Porter versus Keith Thurman all the time. But you know what? The smoke screen's
can't.
got to stop. The smoke screen's got to stop. They got to call it like it is. They got to stop with these terrible. Virgil Hunter's just terrible. But anyway, joining us right now, Dax Khan, to give us the lowdown on social media opinions of the Deontay Wilder versus Chris Arreola fight. Dax, good morning, my man. And first of all, before you give us the social media, what was your thoughts on the fight? Are you sharing the same thoughts that Sal and myself are?
Those thoughts are unanimous. They're not just your thoughts and Sal's thoughts. And yes, I share those same thoughts, and I've shared those thoughts for a while. Deontay Wilder is a guy which we have said on here before. I think he would like to fight better opponents, but they seem to be holding him back. And yeah, this is really not. There was nothing impressive about that. It was kind of a sad situation that they even build this as a world title fight. There was no excuse on how they could have brought Chris Arreola in there. Plenty of guys that they could have brought in, and BJ Flores. I know, guy, you're not too big of a fan of, but he is a great announcer, and I remember him on social media making a comment on, gee, when is the PBC team going to address the fact Chris Arreola hasn't thrown a punch in 3 rounds?
The what was that, Dax? You were breaking.
The PBC team.
They're terrible. You're talking about the PBC team, the announcers?
Yes, BJ Flores. While the fight's going on, BJ Flores, he's on social media, and he said, when are they going to address the fact Chris Arreola hasn't thrown a punch in 3 rounds? Meaning those first 3 rounds, I think Chris Arreola threw, 1 or 2 punches, and the PBC just sat there as cheerleaders talking about how good Deontay Wilder looks.
Dax, you're right, man. I saw the same thing, and it was very disheartening because, as you said, you just depicted exactly what I saw, and no excuse for that. No excuse.
Well,
Arreola, like I said, he wasn't effective in being aggressive. He wasn't effective in doing much. He had some opportunities, maybe in the 3rd round, maybe in the 5th round, where he did have Deontay Wilder's backs to the rope, and his back to the rope, and he was trying to surmount some type of offense, but he just couldn't sustain it, and he couldn't land.
Yeah,
well, he's a shot fighter.
He's totally shot. He's totally shot. And just to comment on what you were talking about, Dax, was that the announcers are, you're right, rah-rah, the home guy, the Deontay Wilder, and that's where I was saying before about why the PBC is bad for the sport, because the short-term fan, they're buying into that crap. It's a joke. What did social media say?
Well, social media, of course, everybody pointed out the same exact things that we've spoke about already. But everybody, when you want to say the majority, other than what I call the blind fans, the troll fans, the ones that don't know what they're talking about, something I'll get into in a few minutes with a different situation, pretty much the majority consensus is Deontay Wilder needs to fight either Anthony Joshua or Luis Ortiz next, or he's not going to be considered a legitimate champion. He's going to be what they called manufactured. And that's what he pretty much is. I don't like to use that word because the man has worked hard. He has, going with his 37th fight, but you know something, he has not fought a top name. He's beaten and fought the guys that he should have been fighting to get into a world title opportunity. Most people don't even think, when it comes to Anthony Joshua, one guy had actually said that he doesn't think Deontay Wilder lasts 7 against Anthony Joshua. First time that Wilder goes back to the ropes, Joshua tears him apart with the 1-2. Joshua only needs to be basic. Somebody else gave Wilder 3 rounds against against Luis Ortiz, and somebody else out there had also said that Deontay Wilder is going to continue and hold on to that title until Heyman finds a bigger name.
He can't right now. Right now, my opinion is this. Deontay Wilder cannot beat Anthony Joshua, cannot beat Tyson Fury, cannot beat Vlad Klitschko, cannot beat Luis Ortiz, and I don't even think he could beat Kubrat Pulev, and I don't even think he could beat Bryant Jennings. How about that? I don't think he can beat any of those legitimate fighters. And I noticed in the chat room, you're predicting that one of his next fights are going to be Gerald Washington, and that's a dead nuts accurate prediction, Dax, because they are gearing him up to fight another guy with an undefeated record, and we all know Gerald Washington ain't all that.
No, but, the O sells, and that's what's continuously sold. Brings me to my next thing where I was talking about, these uneducated fans today. Recently, Keith Thurman called out Manny Pacquiao. Why? Because Adrian Broner priced himself out of the fight. Keith Thurman swears that he is the most feared fighter in boxing. He called Kell Brook's name out for the last year or so, but, nothing's ever been, no steps have ever been taken to actually pursue the fight. Of course, Kell Brook, ducking him so much, he goes and he fights Triple G, looking for the easy way out rather than face the feared Keith Thurman. The blind fans out there are talking about how Keith Thurman is the biggest name in boxing, and he's the biggest draw, and nobody wants to fight him. And Manny Pacquiao and Bob Arum are scared. That's why they haven't answered anything that Keith Thurman has said recently in social media or to the media in general. Now, the last time I checked, Keith Thurman did not answer Marcos Maidana before Marcos Maidana fought Floyd Mayweather because Marcos Maidana wasn't a big enough name for Keith Thurman. At that point in time, Keith Thurman was really pretty much in the same position as another young man who's called Keith Thurman out for the last year and a half, and that's Errol Spence Jr. But when Keith Thurman calls somebody out, everybody's ducking him if they're not calling him back immediately on the party line. But when somebody calls Keith Thurman's name out, all of a sudden, Verizon's having trouble, and you can't get through to his number. What's wrong here?
Well, I'll tell you the deal. Can you hear me now? I'll tell you the deal. Keith Thurman. All these guys with the people that are ducking me crap. It's just like you said. They outpriced themselves. I'm surprised we haven't heard from Chris Eubank Jr. that Triple G ducked him. And the truth of the matter is they outpriced themselves from that fight and were making all these demands. Keith Thurman was the guy who fabricated the injury to give him more time to prepare for Sean Porter. Everybody wants to see a rematch. That's the fight they should be doing. It should make it a pay-per-view. They both could make out financially. As far as Keith Thurman against Manny Pacquiao, listen, that fight wouldn't be a bad fight. And I don't know if Keith Thurman could actually outprice himself for that fight. But that would actually be a good fight. But I doubt Keith Thurman would step in the ring with Manny Pacquiao for real. I don't see a reason for Manny Pacquiao to fight anybody other than Floyd Mayweather financially. They're talking about Danny Garcia as the front runner. That's not even going to be a good fight. And by the way, doesn't that speak volumes about the condition and state of the PBC when Al Heyman all of a sudden is making his fighters go elsewhere to get big fights? I'm convinced that the writing's on the wall, and by watching these fights that are doing terrible with the ratings, I just can't see it lasting. And speaking of ratings, did any word on the Deontay Wilder ratings? How did that do?
I don't think it did very well, to be honest. I have no word on it. Nobody's really been talking about it. So that's something I can't comment on there. But, there is something that I'd like to comment on, which is kind of excited me this weekend, and I think that his comments afterwards had put a lot of people on notice, especially a lot of PBC fighters, and that's Guillermo Rigondeaux, and his total destruction of Jazza Dickens. And Jazza, maybe not an elite fighter, but he's a good fighter, and right now Rigondeaux has put everybody from 122 to 130 pounds on notice. Have you heard any of the things that he has been saying almost immediately from the time he left the ring?
Yeah, and I tell you something, he's been criticized by a lot of people, including HBO and the big fat Dan Raphael from ESPN, about being a boring fighter and all this stuff. What boggles my mind, Dax, and you and I have spoken about this a gazillion times off the air, why these people, fans and certain people in the media, call his style boring. And then they call that other clown that I don't want to discuss his name on here, an all-time great fighter, when the styles are not only similar, Rigondeaux's style is better, and the reason is that he's right in front of you. When you can't hit him, he's right in front of you to land another punch. I love the fact that he was so devastating with his win over Jazza Dickens this weekend. And I don't know. It may have even hurt his chances of getting bigger fights. Who the hell wants to fight this guy?
Well, could you imagine where would Pernell Whitaker be if he was fighting now? Gosh, Pernell would be a nobody because Pernell Whitaker's style very similar to Rigondeaux's, except Pernell kind of, threw more punches, but very similar with the way he's so elusive and just uses his body, to move around and avoid those punches. Same thing with Naseem Hamed. Very similar the way he just moves around and uses the whole body in odd angles to avoid those punches and counter. So if Rigondeaux was boring, those guys must have been boring as well. But you know what? There we have two Hall of Famers. But after that fight, the first thing Rigondeaux said was, he addressed the other champions. He goes, they call me a runner, but to them, it's running. To me, they're the cowards. That, of course, was Matt Prescott Quigg, Carl Frampton, and Leo Santa Cruz. He also stated to Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren, he says, I came here, I did what I said I was going to do. I can fight another 12 rounds tomorrow, just in case any of the fake champions want in. Maybe Frank can get Quigg or Frampton to fight me before I go back home. Last one that he said, he goes, last but not least, before I finish my business, since I'm at it, I might as well get it off my chest. The reason why Dan Raphael fell asleep is because he's obese. Has nothing to do with me being boring.
That's good. That's good, man.
And the favorite line was, who wants to fight me next? Who else wants their jaw ripped off?
I know, I love that.
I'm standing here and I'm ready
Ripped
to do
off.
Yeah, I know. And you know what? He's right. He's right. It's a double standard in this sport, and it all revolves around money, and it's a shame. But hey, Dax, I wanted to give you kudos. I actually, I don't know if I should apologize. I was making fun of you the other day. Not fun of you, but you were bringing to our attention about the boxers on the family. And the survey says, well, guess what? I happen to have watched it the other day, yesterday or whenever it was on. And it was comical. I mean, listen, Victor
You're not
Ortiz.
let Victor Ortiz or Ray Mercer take your temperature.
Did you? Oh, so you watched it too. How do you take your temperature? Ray Mercer, who, Sal, you've met, he's been in your restaurant, and he was part of it. Victor Ortiz had, who did he have? He had Ray Mercer, Dan Goosen, he had Layman Brewster, who, and he had, who else did he had? He had a former champion with him, too. And then the other side had Shane Mosley, James Toney, Mikey Garcia. Who else did they have? They had Mikey Garcia, Chris Bird. Chris Bird and Robert Garcia. And they were good, but I tell you, the guy who comes in and wins it all for the Victor Ortiz family, not Goosen. He comes up with the black and Layman Brewster goes, beautiful, right? 0, right? And they're like, oh, man. And Dan Goosen comes in and wins it. It was funny as hell. It looked like those guys were having a blast. Let me tell you, I applaud. I know I was a little negative the other day, but after watching it, I applaud the Family Feud for having these guys on. I'm just curious to know how many people.
Seen that episode.
Well, it's out there. How many people actually knew who these guys were? That's what I wonder.
Hopefully, it was great though. I think it's good for the sport, and it also kind of gives. It's a way to bring over fans who really aren't boxing fans, just because they see these guys as personalities, the regular everyday people, and it kind of gets rid of that little bit of stigma that a lot of people have recently over the years at one point in time might have been boxing fans but stopped watching for whatever reason. Give them a reason to start and watch again. I got to ask one question. Did you see the new video, the propaganda video that's going around about Sergey Kovalev and Charlie Fitch?
No, I didn't. Charlie Fitch, I think, is one of the best referees, the top 3. Him, Ron Lipton.
Yeah, absolutely.
What did
he's a good friend of the show, and he's a great guy. And his stock as a referee goes up every time. But there's a video after the Kovalev-Chilemba fight. Charlie Fitch is trying to grab Sergey Kovalev's attention. To raise his hand. Kovalev's talking to his team, et cetera, and Charlie's trying, grab his hand to raise it. Kovalev turns around, and Charlie's grabbing something off of Kovalev's hand wraps. I don't know. It looks to me like it's a piece of stick or a tape or something like that. And Kovalev, eventually raises his hand, but he's also so wrapped up in what's going on around him. He's fighting at home for the first time. He's got his whole team around him, his family, et cetera. And now they have people out there, somebody out there, they break down this video slowly, and they're showing Charlie Fitch trying to grab Kovalev's hand. And on the video, they have subtitles. Sergey Kovalev intentionally ignores the referee who's trying to raise his hand for victory. The referee taps Kovalev on the shoulder 3 times, which is true. Referee notices something wrong with Sergey Kovalev's hand wraps and tries to inspect it. Kovalev keeps pulling his wraps away. And Kovalev is not doing that. Kovalev is just turning, talking to the people that are around him. And Charlie Fitch at this time actually has Kovalev's hand, his wrist in his hand, and he's still trying just to, get Kovalev to raise his hand. And Charlie Fitch notices there's something on the thing. He pulls it off and throws it, and the person goes, oh, the referee notices something suspicious, and Kovalev then raises his hand to the crowd, and then it says under there, Kovalev raises his hand to avoid the referee from being allowed to examine his hand wraps. And then, of course, it pursues with the same fans that, buy into everything. The one, they're calling Kovalev a scumbag, he's a piece of shit. They call him a cheater. That's why he killed somebody in the ring, told you his power was overrated, and so on, etc. Stuff like this, I just don't get it. I mean, are they that ignorant? Are you that dumb? Are you that stupid? I'd love to know what Charlie Fitch has to say about this because, his face is on the video the whole time, and I believe that if something went wrong, we'd have heard about it by now.
Yeah, Charlie Fitch won't say anything because he's a pro. And this is my point about this whole new fan base, that PBC-based fan base, which they don't know. They just don't know. They listen to all the smokescreen and the BS. And why aren't they doing anything about the Jack Reese? How about Jack Reese in the Deontay Wilder fight? Did you ever see a referee that wants to be on TV as much as Jack Reese? He comes to the corner. And what's he doing? He's like showing him. Did you see that, Sal? He's like showing him. Oh, you got to hit over here. Oh, you got to go to the side of the body. Oh, he's winking at him and everything else. And then the fight basically ends after the next round. Come on. I've never seen a referee spend that much time in a corner conversating with the fighter one-on-one. Yeah. I mean, that's uncalled for. That's like a baseball umpire. Telling a batter when he steps into the batter's box, hey, listen, you got to put your foot a little more, kind of lean, kind of swing, come on. What are you going to start training him now too, right in the ring? That was BS.
Maybe because Wilder's footwork is so so bad, the referee had to tell him how to fix it since the corner's not.
Yeah, no, it's a joke, man. It's a joke. So, Dax, you're going to be stopping by again later in the week, and we'll talk about the pay-per-view fight. And some more social media. Do you got any final thoughts before we let you go?
Yeah, what I would also like to talk about, too, is later on this week is the Diaz fight and the Sammy Vasquez fight. And again, another situation where a fighter 2 times in a row was screwed on the PBC out of a win because Diaz beat Lamont Peterson too, and he was screwed there. So the PBC just continues to show their favoritism towards whoever the house fighter is. And later on this morning, I'll be on the Adonis Stevenson Williams Jr. conference call. So later on this week, can talk about what took place there as well, and more than what they just put out in the press releases, what they want the fans to see and hear.
That whole fight is another joke because of the fact that Adonis Stevenson, his value has sunk way down, and I think it's indicative. It's easy to see when the fact of the matter is that he's going to be performing his next title fight on Spike TV.
When I ask about what happened to the other guys in the top 10.
Well, no, ask him why he's now fighting on Spike TV instead of HBO and Showtime and everything else. But, Dax, thanks for your thoughts, my man.
All right, speak to everybody soon. Have a good day.
All right, brother. Take care.
Have a good day, Dax.
Dax Cant giving us the updates on social media conversations and stuff. And, Sal, the only thing is I'm glad that a lot of fans kind of see it the way we do with Deontay. I mean, listen, I like Deontay Wilder, and I wish that he was the real deal because I want an American heavyweight, to be the tops. But the sad reality is Anthony Joshua is the best heavyweight on the planet right now, and he's not even fully developed, which is sad. Luis Ortiz, he's up there. Tyson Fury, he's up there. And I'm saying up there, meaning above Deontay Wilder. And even Vlad Klitschko, who held the title for so long, way better than Deontay Wilder. I mean, it's a shame. I actually feel sorry for Deontay, Sal, for believing it, because I truly believe that he believes it. And I feel even more sorry for the fans that have bought into this hype.
Well, I think you're right, Bill. And, I had nothing ever against Deontay Wilder. I know he's been on your radar for a while as far as not really stepping up to where he should be, as he's pounding his chest the way he is and calling out everybody. He wants this, he wants that. But I'll tell you what, like I said, I think this fight exposed a lot of what other opponents, future opponents, can take advantage of with Deontay Wilder's arsenal or lack thereof, and his defense or lack thereof. And I think his next fight's going to be very critical. I think his next few fights, or his next fight is going to be very critical as far as who he's going to face and how he's going to perform.
Yeah, no doubt. It just seems that several weeks, maybe a couple months ago, whatever, I got an email and from I think it was Alex T, and he was saying, with Deontay Wilder, it's like everyone's in on the joke but him, meaning that everyone everyone knows that he's not that good. The people around him, and every time I watch him fight and I watch his antics and pounding on the chest and his comments now, I agree with Alex T. I mean, this is a guy that is in danger because of his overconfidence. This is a guy that thinks he's that good, Sal. I mean, you and I talked off the air, and when a fighter is coming at you and you're fighting and you're even in his case, he's controlling the action. All of a sudden, a fighter starts being aggressive and is coming at you. You can't just back up with your hands down and the look of terror on his face. I mean, this kid's got no defense. When he steps in there with a real fighter, it's going to be lights out because his chicken legs, and that's what he's got, those skinny little toothpick chicken legs, they're not going to handle it. I mean, he and Chris Arreola, although he wasn't chiseled, outweighed him, in that fight. And Deontay Wilder has, 5-6 inches on him? I don't know, man. I think when this guy goes down, it's going to be like a ton of crap. Don't you think?
Oh, it's going to be. It's like I said. He's going to take a shot one day from a good, valid heavyweight, and you always said too that his chin. We still got to see how good of a chin he does have. He's a big guy, but as far as that's about right now. All I see is a big guy. I didn't see the ring generalship. I didn't see him command the fight against a less than average opponent in that level. And I just didn't see what I was looking for. And I have no reason to down him. I genuinely like him. He seems like a nice guy, and it's not his fault to a degree. And then, when I heard he's pounding his chest now, he's got these injuries that are going to probably keep him sidelined for a while, but he wants everybody in the world to know that he wants to fight Anthony Joshua. He wants to fight Tyson Fury. He wants to fight all these guys. Well, that's great. Let's put that in ink and on a contract, and let's see how you heal up and get you in the ring with them, because I think that's going to be a big fight for him if he gets to face one of those top guys, and it might expose him, and he'll learn how he really stands in the game of boxing.
Another thing I noticed about Deontay Wilder that I think is going to haunt him, and I don't know if you picked this up, Sal, but first of all, Mark Breland is his trainer. And Mark Breland was an excellent amateur fighter and an excellent world champion. And I think that he's doing a great job as a trainer. I really do. And I think that we're going to be hearing more and more about Mark Breland as his training career progresses. But with that said, and he's a soft-spoken guy.
Very, yeah.
But with
very
that
mild,
said,
man. He was that way when he fought too.
Right. But with that said, sometimes soft-spoken trainers get the most out of their fighters because it's like they have to strain. The fighter has to strain to listen. But now you know that they're paying attention to you. And if he was the only guy talking in the corner, I would say, hey, kudos to Breland. But he's not. No. If you notice in the corner, Breland will say one or two things. Then the cut guy, well, before I get to the cut guy, he's got the other trainer in his ear. Do this, do that. And then Deontay's, yeah. And then he's got the cut guy who happens to be the owner of Rival, which he's all dressed in. He's giving him instructions too, and they're all giving him instructions. And, in the heat of the moment, that's fine.
No.
When you're out there dominating and you're fighting a human punching bag like Chris Arreola. But, the truth of the matter is when he's in a tough fight, and he's getting hammered, and he needs some, criticism or constructive adjustments in the corner, he should be listening to one voice, Sal. One, not all these voices. We saw what it did. We see what it does to fighters in the past. Specifically, Andre Berto used to be chaotic in his corner, and I don't know if he gathered any information for that minute. And I kind of see something like that happening when the going gets tough for Deontay Wilder.
You are so right, and it's going to be one voice and one voice only in the corner, and that's the way it should be. You just made me reflect back. I learned that early on with Richie Giacchetti. One of my pro fights, it was, I think Bobby Ches and I were both fighting at Ice World early on, and Richie Giacchetti was in my corner as my manager, of course, and trainer. And for whatever reason, I felt I wanted to pay homage, and my first trainer, his name was Eddie Helbig, when I was 14, 15, going to his garage and his gym, and he trained me, and a great guy, and just an old retired bus driver, but he knew something about boxing, and he was a good man. And Eddie, I won the Golden Gloves with Eddie. Won a lot of amateur stuff with Eddie, but he was limited with his scope of how much he could really do for me when I finally left him and went on. But I wanted to always show him how much I appreciated and respected those early years. So I got him a cornerman's license, and he came up in a ring for a professional fight with Richie Giacchetti and myself. So he was a second in my corner. As soon as in the third round, when Eddie started talking, Richie gave him a look that he just let loose with, there's only one trainer talking to Sal right now, and that's me. But you're right. That's it. You should have one voice to listen to and to pay attention to, and that's it.
That's the bottom line. And the bottom line is, don't forget, we are doing a live post-fight show immediately following the official announcement of the winner between Terrence Crawford and Victor Postal, which is scheduled for this Saturday night. So make sure you tune in right here on BillyCBoxing.com or our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Talk Talkin' Boxing. That's TALKINBOXING. So 6 minutes, approximately 6 minutes after the official announcement of the winner is made for Terrence Crawford, Victor Postal. Tuning in right here for a Billy C post-fight show. And as you know, no one does a post-fight show like we do. The phone lines will be open, and you'll be able to call in with all of your thoughts. And hopefully we'll have Sal with us as well. And Sal, we got the trivia question. I'm still trying to give some prizes away. Today's trivia question is being brought to us by Southern Gourmet Spice Company. Check out Kenny Bears. I had some on my burgers yesterday. Good stuff, man. Get yourself a bottle. I highly recommend it. It makes everything taste better. Kenny Bears rub and seasoning is great. Check it out. www.billycboxing.com. Click on the Southern Gourmet Spice banner. Here's a trivia question supplied to us by your friend, Henry Haskup, and mine, and the show's. He's a knowledgeable guy, and he's made this one pretty tough. It's a who am I question. I once stopped a world champion in less than a round, and then in my very next fight, I stopped his brother. Who am I? I once stopped a world champion in less than a round, and then in my next fight, I stopped his brother. Who am I? Now, I'll give you some hints. It is not the heavyweight division. It is not the light heavyweight division. Okay? It is not the heavyweight division. It is not the light heavyweight division.
That's a good hint. So
it's below that. And here's another hint.
I can't answer Jack Dempsey's.
Well, wait a minute. Here's another big hint.
Okay.
This took place prior to 1930. So if you use your little noggin, you'll realize that there were only 8 weight divisions in 1930. So I'm already telling you that he wasn't in the heavyweight and he wasn't in the light heavyweight. I once stopped the world champion in less than a round, and then in my very next fight, I stopped his brother. Who am I? If you're the first one to email me the correct answer, Billy@TalkinBoxing, that's TALKINBOXING.com, you will win a choice of some great prizes. Good luck to everyone on that one. Any quick guesses from you, Sal Rocky Senecola?
No, my answer of Jack Dempsey is well out of fashion right now. I just blew that out.
You're wrong. Hey, this day in history is being
But I will research it.
Well, good. You promised me that two days ago. But, research a little more. And this day in boxing history is being brought to us by my book. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And Sal, you can get a copy right now by visiting Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. And don't forget, Sal, if you want to get a signed copy, visit the book club section on BillyCBoxing.com.
I will do that today.
In case you were thinking about ordering a couple of dozen copies. And that's what you should do. You know what you should do, Sal? You should order 100 copies. And then give them out with every 5 pizzas somebody buys. If they buy a 5 pizza, they get the book. You know what?
That'd be a great prelude too. Also, because you're going to help me write my book.
There you go.
Write that book.
There you go.
So that'll be a good way. What I should do is also buy a case of the books, because I should have them down here. So when we do the future boxing shows, you can sign the autographed copy and give them away.
There you go. That's a good idea. On this day, July 18th in 1951, Jersey Joe Walcott knocks out Ezra Charles in the 7th round to win the world heavyweight title that took place in Pittsburgh. On this day in 1981, Michael Spinks wins a 15-round decision over Eddie Mustafa Muhammad to win the WBA World Light Heavyweight title in Las Vegas. A lot of people forget that Michael Spinks was one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time. Most people remember him, like I do, that look on his face as he was being led to slaughter against Mike Tyson. On this day in 1998, Roy Jones Jr. wins a 12-round decision over Louis Duval to win the WBA World Light Heavyweight title and retain his WBC World Light Heavyweight titles in New York City. On this day in 1992, Dax mentioned him today, Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker wins a 12-round decision over Rafael Pinata to win the IBF World Junior Welterweight title. That took place in Vegas. On this day in 1997, Johnny Tapia wins a 12-round decision over Danny Romero to win the IBF World Junior Bantamweight title, took place in Vegas. And on this day in 2005, Masamori Tokuyama wins a 12-round decision over Katsugi Kawashima to win the
Very good.
to win the WBC World Junior Bantamweight title. And guess where that fight took place, Sal?
Where did that take place? At Korea.
Japan.
I was going to say Korea or Japan.
Any final thoughts, my man?
Oh, boy, I'll tell you. I'm looking forward to this event this Saturday night, pay-per-view, and hopefully I'll be able to watch that fight so I can call in and we can take care of the post-fight there. And I think that I'm going to look at this fight over and over again, just one more time for this Deontay Wilder. I just was disappointed on what I saw, and for the guy who has this kind of experience, again, it just my jaw dropped when I saw that his ring generalship. I mean, he couldn't even think about cutting off the ring on Chris Arreola, who was stepping away from that right hand all night. He just followed him. That's so amateur. He just followed him. And if he's going to step up and fight these tough guys he's calling out, he's going to have an education right there that's going to be painful.
Well, you know, I say this all the time, and I think what we have with Deontay Wilder isn't necessarily Deontay Wilder's fault. I think that the fact that he's been coddled so lightly and easily, progressed along, padded his record. The people around him, including Al Heyman and the PBC, have successfully smokescreened the public and the fans that believe that this guy is the real deal. Does he possess height and reach and a jab? Yeah, he does. But, you know, the best fighter we've seen him employ that is against Berman Stavern. And Berman Stavern's best win of his whole career came against Chris Arreola. And he beat Chris Arreola not once but twice. And when you look at Stavern's rest of his resume, you got a bunch of nobodies on that one as well. So at the end of the day, I think Deontay Wilder, like Alex T said one time, believes his own press clippings. It's sad, and it's even sadder to see that the public, a lot of the public believes it and thinks he's good. He has to fight a real fighter. He cannot keep getting these layup fights and pounding his chest like he's the killer and the best in the heavyweight division. I know for a fact, and I bet anything on it against anyone who's willing, that he will lose to Anthony Joshua. He will lose to Tyson Fury. He will lose to Vladimir Klitschko. He will lose to Luis Ortiz. And I don't even think he beats Kubrat Pulev. So, I mean, listen, I want to see him do well, Sal. But I think he's an extremely, extremely, extremely overrated fighter. Those are my final thoughts on today. And Sal and I will be back tomorrow morning to discuss, I don't know, you think boxing will be a topic or what?
I think we could find something to discuss about boxing, and, you know, we'll see. We could always start off with Triple G or Canelo, but we will discuss some good things in boxing.
Triple G.
Because in the world of boxing, there may be a lot of clouds. There may be a lot of not the clarity we would hope for, but there is, and there will be, and there's always going to be those shining stars that will carry the sport, and hopefully it'll cycle itself out as being another great era on a ready to blossom and bloom. So we'll see, Billy. We'll talk about some good things coming up.
Well, the bottom line is the good fights, the real fights, the true challenges must be made. It's time for all the promoters, networks, fighters, managers, anyone else involved to step aside and let the best fights be made. It's the only answer to get boxing where it was. We cannot see Deontay Wilder continue to fight a bunch of human punching bags. You cannot continue to see, these fights that are just mismatches. Yes, the Lipinets and fight was good. The Sammy Vasquez fight against Diaz was a good matchup. Sean Porter a couple of weeks ago against Keith Thurman was a great matchup.
Great fight.
We got to keep those going. But anyway, Sal, great job as usual. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And for everybody watching or listening, remember to tune in tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.
Goodbye, folks.